Here, our first guest of the evening, Hind Ziane, is strategist and CEO of Generation Politique. Hind, great to see you. One of the issues that many people in the US were talking about before November the 1st was the issue of democracy, whether democracy was actually safe. Some people might be asking that now, given there's going to be one party, one man, one philosophy in charge, with very little room for maneuver or criticism.
Yes, I think, well, first of all, everybody's extremely shocked with what happened, extremely surprised. Part of me still wants to believe that he's going to try to preserve America and American democracy, because once you're in power, you have the responsibility that goes with it, because he knows that America was born in democracy. It's been living in democracy its entire life. It can't go anywhere else because it doesn't know anything else. But at the same time, it is true that if we have a president that is so powerful and that has basically nothing or no one who can control him, it is going to get us in a very difficult position. But here again, I still believe and I hope that him and people around him are going to have a sort of the decency, I would say, to preserve America and its democracy.
You said quite rightly that America was born in democracy, but there's another interpretation of how America developed, and that's the Wild West, where, you know, the sheriff was in town and he who had the biggest hat, the biggest gun was in charge. And in a sense, Trump is that kind of character, isn't he? Will this almost I need to say unimpeachable, I should pick up a better word, this massive power base that nobody could really criticize, is that going to put him in a position of maybe perhaps too much power? Is that something that perhaps we should fear?
It is true that we should fear a man who has too much power. But here again, the more power someone has, eventually, the more he's going to be also fragile, because you need people to govern. You can't be alone in order to govern. So I think eventually he's going to have to make some concessions. The thing also here to think about is how much has Trump changed since 2016 and the 4 years in the first administration. I think maybe some of him kind of got a little bit more mature and knows more about the administration. I mean, I hope so. But I think maybe we're not going to have exactly the same administration. At least that's what I hope. I think with the real politique and what politics is all about today, he's going to have to put mettre de l'eau dans son vin, to put some water in his wine, as we say in French.
That completely works in English too, and you expressed it extremely well. And let's hope at the age of 70, 80, he will start to mature, because that might be something we would have expected a while before. One of the things he mentioned in his speech, his victory speech, let's call it that, because the results weren't exactly all in yet, but it looked basically like the game was up. The first word he mentioned in terms of the policies was border security. The next one was economy. So there's a clear issue there that immigration for him is a key topic.
Yes, immigration is going to be a key topic. We're probably going to have a stronger public policy, a more radical public policy during the first administration.
Deportations, he was talking about.
He talked about mass deportations, about building camps for immigrants, about separating families. So I think we're in for a much stronger stance on immigration, yeah.
This is absolutely horrific if you think about it in those terms. This is going back to his previous mandate, of course. Families were separated at the border. Children were taken away from families. Some of them weren't reunited, we are led to believe. Horrific things were actually enacted then. On the economy, on the other hand, inflation, as I understand it, on election day, 2.4%. So perhaps not so much is wrong with the economy as Trump would have you think.
That's a great question. I mean, if you ask this, quite the paradox, because if you ask people, if you ask even Democrats, who do you think would do better with the economy, they would still pick Trump. So I feel like the Biden administration had the pandemic that made it a little bit difficult for people to believe again in the economy. So we had a huge surge in the inflation for a couple of years. It's doing much better now, but maybe consumers, and that's why the consumer trust index is so low today, so people are still living in those days and kind of expecting.
He's talking about drilling, isn't he? He's talking about oil, he's talking about fossil fuels. Again, another issue. The environment comes up there. This isn't good for the environment, is it?
It's not.
He'll say it's good for jobs.
He said, drill, baby, drill. So I think we're going to expect a lot of fossil fuels during his mandate, his presidency. What he wants for the American economy is more jobs, a bigger GDP, growth. But the thing is, there's also sort of this green turn that we took during Joe Biden's presidency. I think it's going to be difficult to completely scrap it and to go back to what Donald Trump wants. Because the future, and if you look at countries also like China, is also, it's not fully green because we don't know how to operate an entire country on green energy yet. But green energy is also part of it. And here again, because Mr. Trump also likes what other countries are doing, including China and Russia. Well, China also has a very strong green economy and a strong green plan for the future.
Hind, thank you very much indeed for giving us your take on the issues. It's always a pleasure to have you at France 24. Hind Ziane, strategist and CEO of Generation Politique. Thank you for coming into our studios. Pleasure to see you.